Well, it's no secret that the music industry has experienced some of the most seismic shifts of any industry, and we're still seeing a lot of change. So many artists are getting paralyzed when they just realize the size of the vast mountains in front of them, and that results in inaction, frustration, and pretty quick burnout. My hope is that by the end of this next series of videos, these mountains will look more like small little hills with an extremely manageable terrain that you can easily knock out and achieve in the coming weeks and months, which honestly sounds like a much more enjoyable hike. No cap. Well, welcome back to Christian Artist Pro, or CAP as we'd like to call it around here, and the start of our fourth video series as we explore some of these seismic shifts in the music industry. Now, if you're just joining us, I'm so thrilled that you have found us and that you are here. Please check out some of our other videos on building your brand, visual identity, and social media marketing. My name is Kevin McNeese, and I have been working with artists at various stages of their career for a number of decades. Now, I'm not going to date myself, but I've had hundreds of conversations with artists as they navigate the music industry. And here at CAP, look, I'm just trying to download some of those conversations and what I've learned along the way so that hopefully you can focus on what's important and what is attainable right now. So for the next couple of videos, I'm going to spend some time talking with you about your overall goals. And fair warning, I'm going to pull no punches as we dive into the reality of achieving them. Now, my desire here is that you don't get discouraged, you don't get distracted by reaching a certain level of success that may not even be needed in today's environment. Remember, goals that are out of reach result in frustration and distraction and ultimately inaction. And I want none of that for your current journey as an artist. So today, let's just rip off the Band-Aid. Let's expose that wound so that we can get to healing and moving forward. We're talking today about 4 unrealistic end goals. Now, these are goals that almost every single artist I talk to has baked into their idea of what a successful artist looks like. And most of these are simply unattainable. And honestly, they are unnecessary for your career. Now, if you're an older artist, let's not say older, let's say like more seasoned, more wise, more experienced, and you've released music in the past, releasing music today is going to be a massive jolt to the system, even if you know that things are kind of different. Because you and I were creatures of habit and experience, and unless you actually experience releasing music in this new industry, you're going to be drawn to what you've always known to be true. So first, let's get into the obvious. Gone are the days of releasing music and watching the sales pour in. It just doesn't happen that way anymore. In fact, many of the old rules are now thrown out the window, and it requires an artist to evolve in their thinking, to grow in their experience, and yes, to rely on more help. But before we explore how to navigate these seismic shifts in our industry, let's just talk about some of the unrealistic expectations many artists have. Now, again, fair warning, you're going to need to go get maybe a helmet and some protective gear. I'm probably going to beat you up for a few minutes, but the fight is going to be worth it. Brace yourself and just bear with me. One of those first unrealistic goals is that radio isn't going to play you. They just aren't. It's an unfortunate reality, but Christian radio continues to be biased when it comes to the independent artist movement. Yet, over and over again, radio play is the #1 focus and goal that I hear from independent artists. Still, there's just this desire to be on the radio. But one look at the charts and a few hours of listening to your local Christian radio station, and you'll discover that they aren't paying attention to artists outside a handful of major record labels. So what about all these independent artists who are claiming #1 hits and thousands of spins and other stats that feel really important? Well, chances are it's all marketing copy. Now, I am a marketer, I understand it, but that's probably what it is. You see, there are 4 types of radio stations. There's FM, AM, HD, and online. And then there are multiple formats. You have AC, which is adult contemporary, CHR, Christian hit radio, Southern gospel, talk, and finally there's commercial and non-commercial. 90% of commercial radio is non-commercial. meaning that they are listener supported and not ad supported. Now, this is important because the people financing the station, the ones that are keeping the lights on and allowing the station to exist in broadcasting, are the actual listeners. And there is a very specific type of demographic that gives to Christian radio in this country. That demographic is older and female. And that demographic listens to worship and adult contemporary. Look, I don't make the rules. I actually work for a radio station that plays Christian hip hop and rap, and I love it because we seek a younger audience. But guess what? That younger audience doesn't give. My 16-year-old isn't calling up the radio station and giving to them right now, but she's got it on like 24/7. So these stations, just to exist, have to cater to their listeners and do what their listeners want. And so that puts you as a rock artist, or maybe you're a Southern gospel artist, maybe you're country, puts you at a massive disadvantage. Good luck. Now, there are always exceptions to the rule, but don't expect to get on the radio. You're going to set yourself up for frustration. And more importantly, you're going to blow a lot of your budget reaching programmers who simply aren't listening or otherwise can't change the system. Now, that said, do you need radio? I don't know that you do. And if you are getting on radio, chances are it's probably low-key online stations that aren't going to do anything for you anyway. So maybe it's something you just don't need to chase. Okay, the number 2 truth here, labels won't sign you. Now, this is the big time. This is the sign that you've made it, the end goal. This was a dream of every artist back in the day, not that long ago. And while a plush label deal would be nice, the reality is that labels are consolidating. The primary way they make money has been upended. There are fewer labels, fewer ways to get attention, and more artists than ever before. In fact, we see more artists fleeing the label system than we do entering it. And that should tell you everything you need to know. Most label deals are simply paid work opportunities. You're given a giant loan to create your project, and then you're going to be expected to tour endlessly, sell a ton of merch on the road until the label is paid back. At which point you're finally able to begin making money and you begin seeing some benefits. But if that doesn't happen, you might not get a second chance in this budget-strapped label system. Now, in the past 5-6 years, we have seen the rise of what is called a label services model. Capitol has Rethink, Integrity Music has Integrated Music Services, MNRK Nashville, which is a gospel label, has Indie Blue. There's a handful of others. And this is where you give up a smaller percentage of your royalties. It's typically 30 to 50%. And you gain distribution services, playlist pitching, and even some things like graphic design, social media management, etc. And it's exploding in popularity because, well, it's not hard to distribute music on your own. You can do it for like $30 a year on DistroKid. It's not hard. There still remains a lot to be known, and it's specialized knowledge to really get it out there. A lot of artists are just throwing it up and doing the easy way out, but they get instantly lost in this massive stream of new music hitting platforms daily. So this new model is really giving you some ways to kind of get that team without giving away the farm, so to speak. We're seeing plenty of ways to make your music, market your music, to tour your music. And yes, it's more work, but you did it instead of wishing for something that probably won't happen. So all that to say, do you need a label? Well, the third area we want to talk about here is just arena tours and how they're not going to book you. Sorry to smash your touring dreams, but the chances of you traveling with Winter Jam, Hits Deep, or maybe the next big tour and you're the opener, they're just next to none. In fact, most of the opening artists on these tours, they're paying tens of thousands of dollars to even be there and appear. Arena tours and even opening for larger acts is something that just doesn't happen. In the world of independent touring, you must blaze your own trail, much like everything else. But even if you were to get on a tour, we hear time and time again how little it does for the artist. The audience is only engaging in your set for like 10 to 15 minutes if you're an opener, and behind you is hours of other artists and music. You're competing for merch, and by the end of the tour, you're back to square one. Maybe you have some larger market share, but look, reality is going to hit hard when you go from playing in front of 10 to 20,000 people a night to around 1 to 200 a night. Here's the deal. The fact remains, building a brand slow and intentional and small always results in more engaged fans over the long time. Like anything else in life, I'm sorry to say, there are a few shortcuts. So all that said, do you need a large venue or a massive tour? And the final area in this really joyful video packed with good news is consumers are not gonna buy your music. I know, it just keeps coming. The days of selling music are just over. Now you can sell CDs and you can sell vinyl at your shows, but they're souvenirs and impulse buys. Very important to understand what the consumer is buying in that moment. It's no different than a t-shirt or a poster. Charting on iTunes takes dozens, not thousands. Really important there. We see people brag all the time about how they got a #1 album on iTunes. More than likely, they got their friends and family together and they all bought it on Street Week, and that's a #1. People are not buying music anymore. Now, streaming requires a subscription or no subscription at all, and it pays a fraction of the physical or digital product. Now, this is a moving number, but right now, from our best estimates that I'm hearing, 1 million streams will now get you around $5,000. $5,000 is really good, but 1 million streams is really hard to get. Look, just 10 years ago, 1 million purchases of a single would net you 7 figures at 99 cents a download. Now it's $5,000. Look, this requires you as the artist to really enlarge the scope of what you offer and become more creative in how you earn a living doing this thing called full-time music ministry. We are going to spend some time in future videos talking about how you can actually do that. That's where the fun comes in. But just now, I want you to understand the general rule is that your music will no longer earn you a living. There are always breakout stories. There are always artists who rise up and defy the rules. There's always things that you can do outside of selling your music, streaming and TikTok and social and all those kind of things. All that to say, do you really need to earn money from your music? Look, music is tough. I get it. I don't envy your position as an artist as well, but I do want to walk alongside you and encourage you. All these mountains that we're talking about, they don't need to be conquered. That's the good news. There are many ways around them. And there's a lot of power in ensuring that your focus is set on realistic goals. And when you don't do that, you can spend a lot of time, a lot of focus, a lot of energy and money trying to achieve things that are simply not attainable. Don't do that. There are too many opportunities to capture that can truly further your ministry instead of frustrate and stall you out. And in the next video, we're going to talk about a number of those opportunities. It's going to be a little more upbeat than this, but I appreciate you allowing me time to kind of take care of some foundational work as we go deeper into chasing the opportunities that are available for you right now, today. Until next time, take care.